This is The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.
Hello everyone and welcome to The Roadmap, exclusively here on ASBN.com. I'm Lee Heisman, and every week we bring you some of the brightest entrepreneurs, CEOs, and business owners who are climbing the ladder, scaling their businesses, and thinking about how one day to exit stage left. Guys, today we have a very special guest from our Clifco group, Corey Waller. Corey, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I love the new brand, the Corey Waller Way, and we're going to get into that as well. But I want to talk about who you are, what you do, and where you started this philosophy of the boot camp, because you're one of the first people that has ever done this.
My first inspiration for fitness came through the television screen, through Ric Flair and the Road Warriors and Tony Atlas and how do these guys do this. And so got really active, asking my mom for weights instead of toys when I was 10 or 11. That journey took me into the military as out of high school, where I got a great appreciation for the connection between wellness, mental dexterity, and the ability to go out and hit the mark and meet your goals. As an infantryman, as an infantry medic, we would do 25-mile road marches, and then we get there and dig a two-man defense. We could do none of that unless we were eating well, sleeping well, and drinking well. And as a medic, I was in charge of making sure that people slept well, ate well, and drank well. Unbeknownst to me, when I came out of the Army, I thought I was going to go into college and get a business degree. Met a gentleman in Buckhead named Steve Uriah in '98 that was living out his life, paying his bills through his passion. At the time, I was an ROTC cadet. I met him. He told me I could make more money doing what he was doing than I was making working part-time 3 jobs. At that point, I made a right turn.
And what was he doing?
He had a one-on-one personal training studio, one of the first in Atlanta, called Eclipse 101 personal training studio, back when there weren't many personal training studios. And so when he opened that door of paying my bills through my passion, I was gone.
So go into the personal training philosophy that you had. You changed this into boot camps, correct? You changed into group classes, not just personal training.
Yeah, the boot camp concept was really interesting because at the time I came to do them in Buckhead, I was actively going back in. So I was taking all the discipline and all the things that I'd learned and transposing them onto civilians, right? I never thought that individuals would want to come out with no amenities, no active toilet stools, roll in the dirt with anybody for 1 hour and pay me. But it trended and went bananas. The problem, though, in the long run was that it had become gimmicky. It was all about being outside. And once that gimmick began to wear off, retention became a problem. You retain people always through results. At the time, a majority of my women were part of my boot camp programs. And so we did an interesting thing. We, to keep them from talking during the workouts, to keep them focused on a goal, I started incentivizing them, right?
So go talk about this incentivization.
So the first incentivization that I paid for myself because no one believed in the concept, I went to Jeffrey's in Phipps, I think it was, and I got $1,000 for shoes at his store. Jeffrey at the time was being lampooned on SNL, so he was a big deal back then.
Sure.
They scratched and clawed for that $1,000.
Wow, that's really
I didn't have
smart.
to tell them to be quiet. I didn't have to tell them twice to go run that hill. And when I found that reward system worked, I added another incentive through an incident with my wife of adding metrics to those rewards.
So you can qualify it. It isn't or quantify. Apologize.
Yes,
you actually.
So I'll fast forward. It ended up being, bring me your jeans, no matter what size. We'll get you in them in 8 weeks. Whoever participates the most in the wellness component, showing up to the nutrition classes, showing up to the nature trail walks, and showing up to go whitewater rafting. Whoever accrues the most points. Hank Aaron has given me a X3 for 3-year lease. To give to you.
And I want to come work out at your places.
Yeah,
wow.
The floodgates opened. More sponsors came on board. It went from local Q100 all the way up to national Rick D's, Women's Health and Fitness, and before I knew it, It was 5 parks, 150 participants every 8 weeks.
Wow.
And so on and so forth.
So go back to this because I found this interesting. There's
Mm-hmm.
a theme, and our listeners and viewers here are noticing. You keep talking about women.
Yes.
And you keep talking that, 98%, I think you told me offline, that it's women classes, just women are your main participants?
Yeah, I'll make a juxtaposition for you. When I was in the military, I was in an all-male infantry unit. And I knew for a fact that we would take bullets for each other. The camaraderie was that strong. So we were incentivized not by the people that were overseeing us, but by our own connectiveness. I had no idea that I was going to work with women in groups heading toward one singular goal over 8 weeks.
So you saw a cohesion between the women.
Oh, it became less about me and more about them showing up for each other. Some of them showing up they lived an hour away.
What?
Yeah, Cartersville, coming down to Buckhead at 5:45 in the morning
Wow.
to hang out with their friends.
Oh, so the community, you were really building community here.
Unbeknownst to me, and the culture.
So,
and
so
the
as a man,
incentives.
as a machismo man coming out of the military, start there. What I find interesting is not only are you leading a group of 150 women on a consistent basis,
Yes.
creating the programs for them, you don't have any personal experience being a man, but you had a really tight partner in this.
I had my
your
wife.
Talk about
you
that.
know, trying to market. Right, it's a hard thing, especially when the audience is not something you're intimately familiar with. Infantry, man, I'm trying to attract females. I brought my wife a pair of jeans that did not fit. And
was that your last gift you ever gave
it
her?
was 20 years ago.
Okay.
It's all about the jeans. I did not know that. And when she tried them on and they didn't button, it all broke loose.
Have you bought a pair of jeans for her ever since?
Oh, we after 20 years, I can kind of dead reckon them. I kind of okay, that's her. I don't want that incident again. But when I saw how emotionally she was attached to that journey, because she'd been working out and trying to get there, and when she tried those gold jeans on and they didn't fit, I said, "Oh, there it is. Let's scratch through the surface." My 30-second elevator pitch when people would call and ask about the program. Bring me your jeans, I'll get them. I'll get you.
That's unbelievable. So personal experience applying there. Now, what I found intriguing, we talked about this earlier. Share with our audience about the fact that your wife had gone. You have 3 children,
three kids,
which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And you said watching her transformation, her physical transformation, going through a pregnancy to what she wants to recover. You used a lot of this information from her journey to apply to your clients.
She was one of the participants in the 8-week boot camp, and in 8 weeks, most of those women at 28, would lose the weight in 8 weeks. You fast forward after 3 kids, that weight becomes very hard to lose. So the 8-week premise did not respond to it anymore because of hormonal changes and kids. And because of kids, we're busier. There's less time to focus on, let alone us as a couple. And so all the gains she made before the babies began to go back the other way. And with that, you get a different type of partner because she wants her weight and her health and her wellness. So untying that with her is what gave me some of the answers into how we can make this simple for a woman like my wife, who's a high achiever, who manages her own law firm plus 3 kids plus me. How can we show her what I call through the Corey Waller way, the middle way, where a place where moderation exceeds excess, and she can juggle her wellness, walking instead of running.
Walking's a really great exercise. I will
why
tell
I
you
said
this,
it.
and for viewers out there, I used to do CrossFit 10 years ago
Correct.
and compete in CrossFit, and I
Yes.
work out every day in a very aggressive fashion. I walked with my wife the other day.
Yes.
We did a 4-mile walk. Now we rucked, we put some rucksacks on, but I walked and I couldn't keep up with her. Her legs are half as long as mine, and I could not keep up with the walk. So walking's a lot harder than you think.
And for my wife is 50, and that's my demographic. They're trying to maintain the muscle. They're trying to not lose it. And so walking at that point is much better than running.
100%.
Yeah,
So I want to go back through your entrepreneurial journey. So the product speaks for itself, and we're going to talk to our audience about how they can look you up later because you've rebranded.
Rebranding.
But part of our connection is through Cliffco. Cliff Oxford is a friend of the Roadmap, and we were just at an event.
Shout out to Cliff.
Absolutely. Always a shout out to Cliff and to their
Beautiful
organization.
organization.
And with respect, shout out to Andrea, Victoria, to Elizabeth, to Mackenzie,
Yes.
to all the people that run it with Cliff.
That make
I
it
have
go
to throw
round.
that out there.
Yes.
With that in mind, he's been a mentor of yours, and I want to talk about your journey of the branding.
Yes.
Okay. And just for entrepreneurs out there that are understanding, I have a brand, but if it isn't working for them, talk about some of the mistakes you've made with your branding and why you ended up on the Corey Waller way.
I had an interesting conversation with the individual that was helping me with my branding. And one of the things that she related to me is a brand is when you are successful with what you do and people come and say, because you're successful, I want to put this cup in front of you. Until that happens, I think you need to be saying that you're working on your brand.
Okay, fair. I like that. I like that.
And so with that Bring Your Jeans Bootcamp Challenge, when I was kicking sponsors out the door because I couldn't take on everybody, it was my first understanding of how that works and the amount of work it takes to get there. So you have an idea, you test it, even if it's with your family and friends, you see how it resonates with them. And if it doesn't, you go back to the shed and you beat the steel, right? Because if you can't boil your concept down to a 30-second soundbite that fits in radio or that compels people, then you're going to be in trouble in the long run. You're going to be in a bunch of trouble. So bring me your jeans. I'll get you in them in 8 weeks. At the time, as you know, you had to pay to get on radio. You
Absolutely.
had to pay to get in magazines.
Absolutely.
But if you had a good messaging apparatus, they would invite you for free because they were always trying to entertain the masses.
Sure.
And so that was my biggest lesson. Don't be afraid of sitting down, tinkering with your brand, operating on it until you get it just right. So when it's ready to present, it's a major part of what sells people to come into your.
So talk about how you ended up at the Corey Waller way.
So here's the interesting thing that brought me closer to my wife also. In 2012, I had a couple of health issues and a couple of business strategies that didn't go well. And so I ended up back at home with the kids. Now, here's the guy that used to tell the housewives, I don't know why you're complaining you don't work.
So you were saying you were back home with the kids,
home,
not
all
working.
Three.
Yes.
Yeah, just
your wife's out there
full-time.
working.
She's out there getting it. I'm home. It's my first chance to have some empathy for him in that arena. So that unique challenge of understanding where she was hormonally, coupled with the understanding of what it is on the ground to be dealing with 3 kids under the age of 5, right? Said, okay, I see all the things they're trying to push through. So then I morphed it into this thing called the Rejuvenation Project, which I worked tirelessly on through the branding process and all that. And when I presented it to Cliff, he said, you know what, I remember you from your boot camp days. He said, you have all these ladies out here, but you took the time to address my daughter, right? He said, the brand is too generic. You need to, for the audience that I know you are able to attract, you need to go back to the woodshed. And I knew what he was saying because I've told other entrepreneurs this, and up your brand. And I think you have such a specific thing that you're doing. You should make it about you and rebrand it the Corey Waller way.
So Corey, thanks so much for coming on the show today. I really enjoyed the time. Yeah. So for our audience out there that wants to get in touch with you, wants to learn more and keep in touch, I'm going to have you look over at your camera and talk about your new brand, where they can find you and how they get in touch.
Yeah, you can come join us at the Corey Waller Way, CoreyWaller.com. And I look forward to meeting you on your journey.
You know, listen, I think I'm going to make my way down to the Corey Waller way.
Yeah.
Of course, I may be one of the few men there, but I think I have no choice but to come do this with you.
That's okay.
I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Corey.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope the show was as insightful for you as it was for me. We hope to see you again next week on another episode of The Roadmap.
Thanks for watching The Roadmap with Lee Heisman.